So welcome back. I wanted to show you guys something I've been dealing with my Nova with the AC, factory AC control levels. So this is the control unit for your heater, your fan, the AC, all that sort of thing. Of course I don't have the gauges on there, but and then you got your fan control up here and so on. And want to show you what goes bad with these and what could cost you a serious amount of money if you break it like I did. So here's what's going on. You got this little vacuum actuator here which controls vents and so on. 3 vacuum lines hook right onto these little 3 guys right here. Sorry, I didn't have that up there. So these little 3 guys right here. Okay. There's a dial on the back of here that needs to move. So right in the back side of this is the piece that moves back and forth. Let me get my little pointer on there. That guy right there. See this little groove? This little piece right here has to slide through there. And what happens, and I'll show you when I actuate this lever here, and when this comes up to this position here, it's supposed to push that lever around. So you can see what happened now is this dial surface right here is almost parallel with the groove it's trying to push it through. So the problem being is this guy now won't go forward. So what ends up happening is you start to get this little gap right there of it pushing on it too much. Let me show you. You see that? See how that opens up right there? And it just wrenches on it. So what you're doing is, you see I don't have a prong on here anymore, like these other guys. It's because I broke it off by pushing it up, because that lever will not let it go up. Now if I give it a bit of a hand and kind of move it forward a little bit, the right angle on there, like that. Now watch. Now it moves it forward. Nice and easy. Okay. So now my switch goes all the way to the top. Now also know that there's vacuum on here, right? And you're talking about this being in the back of your dash. Dust, grime, all kind of stuff is getting inside of there. And once it gets inside of this guy here, I'm just going to put my spike down inside of it. See how I'm opening that right there now? See that gap at the end of my spike? Dust and junk is getting in there, and it has a fine layer of oil to help it move. That turns into nice gooky gunk and so on, and this thing is not going to move at all, so it binds the entire lever. So let me roll around to the front here, and you see how the whole thing works. So it's all the way down, coming on up, trying to get colder air, trying to turn on the AC, and you see that same lever pushes that switch right there. And now it won't go any farther until I move that forward again. Okay. Now it pushes the switch down. So when you break that thing off, that's made of pot metal, you're not going to weld on that. It'll just turn to water on you. It's a real mess. I tried it. And then you end up having to buy one of these. The exact same setup, brand new, with the same problem, for $330. So don't break that lever. Okay? Now, with this one, it works, but it is stiff. So, same setup, if I can get the right shot in there. There's that little dial coming around. It hits that lever right there, gets a little stiff, but it moves it. Right? So everything's all nice and happy. Everything's working. So, and lastly, when you're pushing this thing down, right? So you're pushing this little lever here up and down. You're pushing that guy down. This guy is riding on this piece of plastic right here. So it comes down and it's coming down. And it starts to pull on this cable. And it starts getting stiff. So I've got to figure this out. Now, if you look, look at that guy right there. Okay. I'm really pressing hard right now to get it the rest of the way. And it's not going. So you can see it's starting to bend up. Right? Here is what happened with the old one. Busted. Once that busts off and you bring this down, I think right away you see the problem. So it drops down now. You can snake it back up in there, but just know when you press down on that, that's the only piece hanging on right there that's going to hold that thing level. And you press hard enough and you snap that bad boy right out of there. There's all kinds of problems with this design here, right? So you got to be pretty careful and know that when you put this thing back in, even though it's brand spanking new, you got to make sure that all these cables are not binding, you don't have bends in them, because that's a steel core. If that's bent, it's going to cause restriction. You're going to come down here and you're going to push on that thing because it's trying to pull this cable up. So I can give it a little bit of a push and everything works fine. But doing it on my own, you see, I'm pushing on it. It's edging its way up there, but it's not easy. See the angle of that thing? It's about ready to bust that plastic off. It is a slightly improved design. There are some things that they've done. They've got better rivets here. It looks like they may have changed the angle of that groove when it moves that thing down, because it does move easier. Now, one of the other things I thought about doing, and I've experimented a little bit, is to take this screw out right there and move this entire unit on the outside of that screw. So let me show you what that looks like and show you how it makes this thing work. Okay, so I just took the screws out. You take this guy, move it there, and I'll put that screw back in there. Now the question being is, when I've moved this thing now, is will this vacuum work sufficiently enough to open and close the vents? That is yet to be seen. However, you will now see that even though this one is slightly worn, watch the little mechanism inside there. Works perfectly, just like it should. So it's a bad design, right? And I'm contemplating doing that exact same change to my brand new one so that I don't run into this problem. Right now it does work, but things are a little bit stiff, especially with running this thing all the way down. Now you see I don't have that problem with this guy here. It goes all the way up and down. Just nice, but I have no cable attached to it. I would suspect that once I took this cable here off, that this lever going up and down would work a lot better. Right now it is extremely stiff. So I want to find out what's going on with this cable. Just as I suspected, I took the cable off now. Now we're going to run this lever. Much nicer. So the problem is in this cable. Now I'm tugging on there pretty good. That is very, very stiff. That is going to break the bottom of this plastic off real quick. Okay, so I got to fix that. I suspect that from the way it was wrapped in the package, see that bend? See that bend? And another one right there. So when they put this in the package, they wound this thing up so tight that it bent the metal shaft, and that's causing binding. So I got to work on that. So I got the climate controls mounted in there, and that's a couple hours worth of work, so a bit of a struggle. The cables that came with the new controls were either an 1/8 of an inch off or 1/4 of an inch off, which is not allowing the vents to fully close or fully open and stuff like that. So at least 2 of the cables I went back with the original ones. But in any case, it's working pretty good. Got fan control, air conditioning control. It's a little struggle still there at the bottom, but you kind of edge it down. Careful not to snap it off. And heater, AC, frost, and all. Here's a closer shot of what I did. Alright, if you guys enjoy this video, leave comments, subscribe, whatever you like, and we'll get some more information out there and hopefully help somebody out. Alright, see you next time.